Yeah, I think the key for us is constant communication with all lines of control. So let's say our client, the project manager, needs to be daily speaking with the client to make sure we are up to date with any planning changes, any additions, and then that also then needs to be communicated to our teams on the ground, and any extra equipment needs to be then communicated to the third party haulier in order that we can get it shipped to the site.
All the good project management books that tell you need to plan the communication in advance, so you need to have a clear stakeholders map and how you are planning to interact with each of those stakeholders. But if I can give a bit of advice, what has worked for me is when you're having those conversations, you should really tailor your communication style to the person in front of you.
I think it's important to have a written down communications plan, so you know how you're talking to different stakeholders at what points in time and what the key messages are. Linked to that, it's really vital to get their feedback on how that comms is working for them. Are they getting the right level of information in the right way? Keep an ear to the ground. Are you hearing pockets of resistance or pushback? And then build all of that back into the comms plan, adapting it as you go to make sure it's supporting you and your project in the right way.
Communication is one of the keys to enabling us to foresee problems. The engineers on site are our eyes and ears while the event is getting built up. So it's essential for our project managers to be in regular contact with those guys on the ground in order for us to work out if a project is getting behind time, if there's any additional equipment going to be required, and that communication will enable us to figure that out.
So if it's someone who is very action oriented, you should be quick, fast, and be gone as quickly as possible. If you're dealing with someone who's very analytical, then the trick of the trade will be to bring evidence and bring data with you to back up what you're saying. There are other people, they are very much people oriented. In that case, I think the trick will be you need to show that you care about the message you're conveying. Some other people, they are innovators, they live in the future, so you need to give them a vision. You need to inspire them, give them a good story. And by adjusting your communication style to the person you have in front of you, you can be as effective as possible.
So reporting is really key to make sure everyone understands the level of progress on a project, and particularly if there are any key risks or problems that need to be escalated elsewhere in the organisation for support.
When talking with the venue, the organising committee and the client, make sure that we're all working on the same time schedules, that they're realistic time schedules, and that the offer that we've made financially is in line with what they're expecting, and if there's any additional requirements, how much they're going to cost and whether they will be agreed or not.
It can be difficult to tailor your reports to the right audience. Project managers often find that there are many groups who want reports done in many different ways, which can be quite time consuming. So it's about getting the right level of information you feel those stakeholders need in order to be able to take the actions the project requires.
There are a couple of tips I can give. The first one will be, don't be afraid to bring bad news on the table. Your role as a project manager is to make sure issues are addressed and resolved. So don't be afraid to bring bad news. But at the same time, when you do so, you need to have done your homeworks. So you need to make sure you have analyzed all the options, and probably it's a good idea also to bring some possible solutions to the table.
The client needs to understand how our system works in order for them to design the site to accommodate where our pipes are going to run, but also how much it's going to cost them. So there is always a bit of conflict to start with, but then we can sometimes work with the client to help design the layout of their site so that it's easily overlaid as well.
Never bring bad news for the first time in a forum, for example, in a governance meeting, where you have all your stakeholders around the table. That's like dropping a bombshell on the table. You don't want that. And what you have to do in that case, what worked for me at least, is you have to meet every stakeholder individually and have the individual discussion. So where they will have the forum, the full governance, they will be aware what's happening, they have already formed in mind an opinion, they won't be surprised, and the conversation later on will go much, much smoother.